Let's move on to the Cardinals, the things you guys actually care about. There is some steam being picked up from Shedeur Sanders potentially going to the Arizona Cardinals at pick 16. And I really thought about if I was going to give this story any legs. But I believe I was the first one. You know, the one thing I think you guys have gotten on this show is I think I'm intuitive. I think I do come up with topics that other people don't come up with. And I think at least my thoughts, although sometimes outlandish, are interesting and do make you think, and that's what I want to do on this show. And also, I'm just very humble, as you can tell. But Adam Schefter the other day threw some gasoline on the Shedeur Sanders topic of him potentially going to the Arizona Cardinals at pick 16. And it is exactly what I said. I had someone come after me on TikTok, and I'll respond to people in comment sections. I will never get upset with anyone for coming after me. If I have a sports opinion, you are also allowed to have a sports opinion. I'm not above you, so I don't, But someone had said, weren't you the guy that was trying to replace Kyler Murray and Shedeur Sanders? I never said the Cardinals need to pick Shedeur Sanders over Kyler Murray. What I have said is if Shedeur Sanders is available at 16, and I said this almost a month ago, yes, if you are the Arizona Cardinals, you have to at least think about it. I apologize to every Cardinals fan, tongue-in-cheek, because I don't actually apologize for having a sports opinion, as a guy right next to the door decides he wants to just really blow that leaf blower all over right next to my house. But what I will say is, or right next to my apartment, but what I will say is I went on an AZ Sports Fans show, and I basically talked about my opinions on there and the Shedeur Sanders talk, and what I had said was this. It was never the Arizona Cardinals need to replace Kyler Murray with Shedeur Sanders. It was, if you're not thinking about it, then that is absolutely asinine. Kyler Murray has not given you a reason to be the Arizona Cardinals franchise quarterback for the next decade. He hasn't. I like Kyler Murray. I think he's a solid NFL quarterback. The days of him potentially being a top 5 guy are just out the window, and we're going to talk about why the Arizona Cardinals don't need to just go pass rusher with their first-round pick just to go pass rusher to appease you. But what I will say is when I read the quote from Adam Schefter, I say this is exactly what I was talking about. It's not me saying Shedeur Sanders is absolutely going to be an Arizona Cardinal. However, it is me saying you do have to at least think about it. We can't just push Kyler Murray onto this pedestal with 0 playoff wins, even though I like the guy too. I've got a Kyler Murray jersey hanging up. I'm looking at it right now. I don't hate Kyler. I want it to work out. The Cardinals would be better off picking someone to help elevate this team instead of wondering if they have the franchise quarterback. But what I will say is Kyler Murray has not given you a reason to take control of this Arizona Cardinals team. He has not. There is no world where you can talk about Kyler Murray grabbing this position by the throat and holding on to it. Every year it's the same thing. He does this, he does this, he does this, and then he kind of collapses. Now, I am not making the case that Shedeur Sanders has to be the Cardinals pick at 16. I am making the case that if the Cardinals aren't at least thinking about it, then that is a problem all on its own. That is, I think, malpractice. And here's what Adam Schefter said today on I believe, his podcast. Adam Schefter, on his own podcast, listed the Arizona Cardinals, listed a handful of wild card teams to watch when it comes to the Shedeur Sanders draft lottery. And he said on his own podcast, Schefter labeled the Cardinals as one of the handful of wild card teams to watch for Shedeur Sanders once the draft is underway. I'm not telling you they're doing it. We're talking and imagining. I don't think it's likely, but I'm not completely dismissing it. I don't think Arizona is likely. But there has been questions about Kyler Murray, Schefter said. There have been questions about the owner not being a huge fan of him, which we know that. What if all of a sudden they take Shedeur Sanders and it puts them in a position where they can move on from Kyler Murray? For all the Arizona Cardinals fans, oh, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just a Kyler Murray hater, which is just a bad argument to try to make if you're trying to defend Kyler. Or you're just a hater. No, I'm not. I don't care enough about anyone to hate them that much. But let's just call it what it is. The Cardinals are doing their due diligence. And no, Shedeur Sanders will likely not be the pick at 16. But if he rolls around at 16 and he's available, If you don't think Jonathan Gannon, Monty Ossenfort, and Michael Bidwell, for some reason Michael Bidwell is in this room, in this conversation, aren't saying, hey guys, what if we took this guy? I think both guys roughly have the same ceiling. I think Shedeur Sanders can be a top 10 guy in the league. He obviously has a good arm to him, accurate 70+% completion percentage with Colorado. But come on. He's got mobility in the pocket, 70+% at Colorado in terms of completion percentage. And we're just dismissing that. Not to mention, over all of that, you could move on from Kyler Murray's deal after a year, and then you have 4 years of paying Shedeur Sanders pennies to help elevate this team. Imagine having this much cap space every year. So the idea that it's just insane, you won't do it, you're making it up out of thin air. No, I'm not. And pat on the back for you guys for watching this show, and pat on the back for me for pointing this out a month ago. If this guy falls, I'm not just discounting him not being the Arizona Cardinals quarterback. Listen, I hope Kyler Murray figures it out. For everyone that calls me a hater for Kyler, again, for some odd reason, I went to Minnesota, I wore his jersey, I hope he succeeds. It's better for the Cardinals if he succeeds. Can we just be honest? Can we put the pom-poms down? At 16, if Shedeur Sanders is available, you're having the conversation. For all the reasons that I listed before. 70+ completion percentage in college. Good mobility. Pretty accurate. Good arm. And he would cost you nothing for 5 years. You'd have the type of salary cap space you had this year. Every year, he's the Arizona Cardinals quarterback for the first 5 years. So just pushing that off to the side, I think is not fair, malpractice, and I honestly just think it's fanboy talking. It's not crazy to think that he could potentially be the Arizona Cardinals quarterback of the future. And Adam Schefter, just leaving it out there, says something. That has taken my belief that Shedeur Sanders will be the Arizona Cardinals quarterback from 10% to 20%. Now it's still 80-20. The Arizona Cardinals don't take him. In fact, if you're asking me, if the Cardinals could trade back because Shedeur Sanders was available, I actually would rather that, because then you get more picks, you're able to cash out on him, and it's not a great draft. You probably want more swings at the bat than you have. But to just act like you're not doing it, like, come on, guys. What are we doing? Like, put the pom-poms down. I know you like Kyler, and I know he's fun, and for 10 weeks, he's a pretty damn good quarterback every single year. But to just think it's not happening, dismissing it, is crazy. Shedeur Sanders was seen as the number one quarterback coming into this year. And I don't think he's going to be Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes or insert elite level quarterback here, Joe Burrow. But I think he has the ceiling of a top 8 quarterback in the NFL. Probably the same as Kyler, but he's cheaper, he's younger, he's got the same mobility, good accuracy, probably the same amount of accuracy as Kyler Murray. And he took a Colorado team that was in the depths of Hades of college football and made them relevant. And I got to be honest with you, that's commendable. There are some things about Shedeur I do not like. I want him to be more, this sounds bad. No, it doesn't. I'm not leaning into that nonsense. I want him to be more of a leader. The same issues I have with Kyler. You go up to the podium, like at the NFL Draft Combine. I didn't like the guy showed up like it was, like he already had the job, like he thought he was the best thing there. I don't like those attitude issues. Those are the things I worried about with Kyler. People think, I have a backwards hat on today. I wouldn't have a backwards hat on if I was going to a job interview. And that's effectively what the draft combine was. I didn't like any of that. I understand why teams are being turned off by Shedeur Sanders. And it's all things the Cardinals should take into account too. But just to dismiss it is absolute, complete, and utter nonsense, and you got to get it out of your brain. Shedeur Sanders could very much potentially be the pick at 16 for the Cardinals. Will it happen? Probably not. Could it? Maybe. Should they talk about it? Abso-freaking-lutely.